continuing our series called ExtraOrdinary. I've really enjoyed this series because it's helping us to look at ordinary people. Even though all the disciples were ordinary people, but, we talk about them all the time. We talk about all these people that, everybody's familiar with. But I just want you to know there's people in the Bible that maybe we've not talked about a lot or you don't hear a lot about, but they did some amazing things, and God used them in some really good ways. So we're going to talk today out of Exodus 18. We're going to talk about a guy named Jethro, which is Moses' father-in-law. And we're going to kind of talk a little bit about it, but then we're going to kind of make a little twist there at the end. So hang on, hold on, and let's go through this. So we're going to read Exodus chapter 18. I'll read it here from my Bible, and then you can just follow along on the screen. Moses' father-in-law, Jethro, the priest of Midian, heard about everything that God had done for Moses and his people, the Israelites. He heard especially how the Lord had rescued them from Egypt. Earlier, Moses had sent his wife Zipporah and his two sons back to Jethro, who had taken them in. Moses' first son was named Gershom, for Moses had said when he was a boy, "I've been a foreigner in a foreign land." His second son was named that guy. For Moses said, "The God of my ancestors was my helper. He rescued me from the sword of Pharaoh." Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, now came to visit Moses in the wilderness. He brought Moses' wife and two sons, and they arrived while Moses and the people were camped near the mountain of God. Jethro had sent a message to Moses saying, "I, Jethro, your father-in-law, am coming to see you with your wife and your two sons." Moses went out to meet his father-in-law. He bowed low and kissed him. Isn't that how we all address our in-laws? Is it just, yeah, okay. Some of you are like, it's not even funny. It's not even funny. The Lord loves you. He'll work on you. They asked about each other's welfare and then went into Moses' tent. Moses told his father-in-law everything the Lord had done to Pharaoh in Egypt on behalf of Israel. He also told about the hardships they had experienced along the way and how the Lord had rescued his people from all their troubles. Jethro was delighted when he heard about the good things that the Lord had done for Israel. He rescued them from the hand of the Egyptian. "Praise the Lord," Jethro said, "for he has rescued you from the Egyptians and from Pharaoh. Yes, he has rescued Israel from the powerful hand of Egypt. I know now that the Lord is greater than all other gods, because he rescued his people from the oppression of the proud Egyptians." Then Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, brought a burnt offering and sacrifices to God. Aaron and all the elders of Israel came out and joined him in a sacrificial meal in God's presence. The next day, Moses took his seat to hear the people's disputes against each other. They waited before him from morning until evening. When Moses' father-in-law saw all that Moses was doing for the people, he asked, "What are you really accomplishing here? Why are you trying to do all of this alone while everyone stands around you from morning until evening?" Moses replied, "Because the people come to me to get a ruling from God. And when a dispute arises, they come to me, and I am the one who settles the case between the quarreling parties. I inform the people of God's decrees and give them his instructions." "This is not good," Moses' father-in-law exclaimed. "You're going to wear yourself out and the people. This job is too heavy a burden for you to handle all by yourself. Now listen to me and let me give you a word of advice, and may God be with you. You should continue to be the people's representative before God. Bring their disputes to him. Teach them God's decrees and give them his instructions. Show them how to conduct their lives. But select from all the people some capable, honest men who fear God and hate bribes. Appoint them as leaders over groups of 1,000, 100, 50, and 10. They should always be available to solve the people's common disputes, but have them bring the major cases to you. Let the leaders decide the smaller matters themselves. They will help you carry the load, making the task easier for you. If you follow this advice, and if God commands you to do so, then you will be able to endure the pressures and all the people will go home in peace." Moses listened to his father-in-law's advice and followed his suggestion. He chose capable men from all over Israel, appointed them as leaders over the people. He put them in charge of groups 1,000, 150, and 10. These people were always available to solve the people's common disputes. They brought the major cases to Moses, but took care of the smaller matters themselves. Soon after this, Moses said goodbye to his father-in-law, who returned to his own land. All right, so we read this passage, and we've heard a lot. I've heard a lot of pastors talk about this on a leadership level, about delegating, about helping, about really not doing everything. And so we're going to talk a little bit about just some things we can pick up from Jethro. And what can we learn from Jethro? So one of the first things that we're going to talk about is Jethro, he listened. He had a relationship with Moses, obviously, but he knew Moses and he listened to Moses. In verse 8, and I'll read it for you. It says, Moses told his father-in-law everything the Lord had done to Pharaoh in Egypt on behalf of Israel. He told him about all the hardships they had experienced along the way, how the Lord rescued his people from all their troubles. So Jethro listened to Moses. He was just listening. Have you ever had that friend? I say friend. Have you ever had that person that when you talk to them, they probably do 95% of the talking? How many of you are that friend? See, yeah. Kind of turn that around. Everybody got a little quiet. But there are times where I think Jethro did not show up to Moses to try to teach him a bunch of stuff. He was in a relationship with Moses. And when Moses was sharing, it blessed Jethro to hear what Moses was experiencing and all that God was doing in and through Moses for the people of Israel. But he was part of that journey. He was listening. He was aware. And he celebrated that. And see, a lot of this, I'm just going to tell you, almost everything I'm talking about is the importance of community. It's the importance of people in your life. And here's Jethro who comes and visits Moses and is there and is hearing all about the great things. Sometimes we need to be the kind of people that we don't just go into something talking about all that's going on in our life. We also need to be those people that say, hey, tell me about you. John Maxwell wrote a book a long time ago called Everyone Communicates, Few Connect. Communicating is you talking, connecting is you listening. It's different. You can sit down and talk to people all day long and may never connect with them. But you ask people their story, then you get a lot more information. And then you connect. And they feel more connected. So a lot of it has to do with just community. So the one thing that Jethro did before he gave any advice, he wasn't in this for advice. He was in this because of relationship. But he listened. And he celebrated what was going on in Moses' life. And then here he is, so he's there, he's hanging out with Moses, and then Moses, in normal terms, goes to work the next day, right? And he sits and he hears all these disputes. Everybody's coming to Moses. Everything's got to go through Moses. And we're not talking like 100 people. We're talking up to a couple million people that he's kind of the leader over. It's a lot of people. It's a ton of people. And every dispute's coming to him. I mean, everything. So Jethro, it says in verse 14 of that, it says, the next day, in verse 13 it says, the next day Moses took his seat to hear the people's disputes against each other. They waited before him from morning until evening. So here it is. He takes his seat. Moses is sitting down. The people are in line from morning until evening to get to Moses. So not only is it tough on Moses, it's tough on the people. Right? I mean, let's just be honest, okay? If I go into Starbucks and there's like 6 or 7 people, I'm like, oh, man. These people, there's hundreds and hundreds of people in this line to talk to Moses. So here's the thing. Not only did Jethro listen, But in verse 14 it says, when Moses' father-in-law saw all that Moses was doing for the people. In other words, he watched. He was aware. This is what Moses is doing. He's watching. So he's not only does he listen to Moses and celebrate all those things, but he's starting to notice something. He's watching Moses. Now here's the thing that I'm going to say this up front. I'll probably repeat it. You don't need to go into any relationship with a critical eye looking for something to fix. That's not what he was doing. He wasn't going there and saying, yeah, he's probably doing stuff wrong. I can point that out. Because we said last week, a lot of times if you spot it, you got it, right? You see all this stuff going on in somebody's life probably because you deal with some of that yourself. He wasn't going in this to try to say, Moses, I'm coming, I'm showing up because I'm going to be your consultant. I'm going to help you. I'm going to give you all this wisdom. I am a man of wisdom. I will fix all of your problems. That's what he was doing. He was in relationship with them. He listened to him. He observed what he was doing. He was with Moses because it's community, it's family. They're together. And he notices something because he's aware. So it's not just watching. Make it more like this. He was aware. He was aware of something. He noticed something. And when he noticed it, in verse 14, he says, what are you really accomplishing here? And why are you trying to do this all alone while everyone stands out or stands around you from morning till evening? So he's realizing, like, man, this is not good for you, Moses. The heart that Jethro had was not a heart to fix Moses. The heart that Jethro had was a heart to help Moses, to come alongside and help him, and to give him some good advice and to help him. So that's the third thing. Not only do we listen, not only do we observe and be aware, but we help. You know, God has called you to help people. Do you know that? You are in this world as a blessing, to be a blessing, to help people. And it's worse and worse in society today that we have these blinders, that it's all about us. It's all about what I have to do today. It's all about what I need to accomplish. It's all about what I'm doing. And there's not as much of an intentionality to say, what do I notice? How can I help people around me? How can I help? This is practical today, okay? This is practical. How can I help people? How can I come alongside and say, hey, I know you got a lot going. How can I help? What can I do? Maybe it's pray. Maybe it's just a word of encouragement. Maybe it's a smile. Maybe just a smile helps somebody. How can you help family members? How can you help your kids? How can you help, whoever? God has called us. We're part of a body. When you look at the body, your own body, and you think how everything works together, when you leave here, you're going to go eat lunch. Do you know how many parts of your body participate for you to eat? Just to eat. Your legs are going to take you to the restaurant, right? You're going to walk to the restaurant. You're going to sit down. Your arm is going to stretch. Your fingers are going to grab the fork. You see what I'm saying? Then it brings it up. Your mouth has to open. Your body is all doing this together to help. What if your arms refuse to move? Listen, I'll still find a way. Don't get me wrong. I'll just be like, excuse me while I go after this like a bird. I will do it. I'll figure it out. But I'm telling you, your body works together because it's one body with every part doing what it's supposed to do. We are one body. Not Thrive, the body of Christ. This church down the road is part of our body. I know it's frustrating when you see all these cars turning around in our parking lot because they can't make a left turn. So they go right, they come down here and turn around. I know it's frustrating, but I'm just going to tell you because people have asked me. I am not going to say we're not going to help you go down the road. Use our parking lot. If you hit a car, you pay it. But be careful, but we want to be a part. This is our family. This is our family. Yes, traffic, but it's our family. You hear what I'm saying? Someone told me, it's hard sometimes because I don't feel like sitting in that traffic. It's your family. Good gracious, aren't you glad there's that many people going to church and hearing the word? Let's celebrate that. Let's help each other. If anything, help them direct traffic. Help them turn around. Park your car close enough that they can get by. Someone asked me, you want me to block it? Don't block it. We're not. I get it. We have a responsibility. Listen, I want to protect your vehicles. We have security team. We have people looking out. We will take people down if they try to take your car. But if they just want to turn around, turn around. At the end of the day, turn around. One day, we may be turning around in their parking lot. We may have to run shuttles from their parking lot to our church. But we're going to work together. Why? Because we are family. I'm not going to sing because that's not my gift. You with me? So we need, he helped. But he didn't just help by saying, here, let me do it. He helped by saying, let me give you some good advice. Here's something to think about. Don't do it by yourself. Don't do it by yourself. You got a lot of people here. And Jethro wasn't just thinking about Moses. He was thinking about the people. Because he actually says in the scripture, he says that you will, in verse 17 or 18, he says you're going to wear yourself out and the people. He's talking to both of them. He's like, listen, I don't want you to wear yourself out, but I don't want all your people worn out. So let me help you. You with me so far? All right, this is where it's going to take a little turn. This is what Jethro did. He listened. He observed. He was aware, all out of relationships, not to somehow fix something, but in listening and in being aware and in watching, he noticed something. And then he lovingly encouraged a different way of doing it. It wasn't, Moses, that's stupid. That's not what he said. That's not helping someone. If you start with that's stupid, that doesn't help people. What helps is when you celebrate what they're doing, you recognize their heart in it, you understand that maybe the Lord has helped you to see something in a way you can help them, and you come alongside and say, man, you're doing a good thing, but you're going to wear yourself out this way. Let me help you. Can I just give you some advice? So that's how we need to be with people. Be close enough to people and in a relationship that you notice people, that you hear what people are going through and what's happening, and you watch and you see. And then when you see something that's not right, lovingly come alongside them and help them. Now, here's the question. Ready for this? Who's your Jethro? Who is the person in your life that can say to you, what you're doing is not good? Because everything we talked about, we have to now put into practice. Don't do life alone. I know it's difficult. Most everybody, when life gets really bad or you go through something really tough, most of the time it pulls you back. There's been a lot of times I've reached out to someone who hasn't been here in a while, and they're like, yeah, I've been going through some stuff. And it's always puzzled me. I'm like, that's when you need your family the most. And I get it. Sometimes you just don't feel like talking about it. You don't feel like thinking about it. You don't feel like acknowledging it. You just want to curl up but it doesn't help you. It doesn't help you to be alone. There's strength in numbers. One can put 1,000 to flight, 2, 10,000. The Bible says in Ecclesiastes, a cord of 3 strands is not easily broken. 1 is. 3 is stronger. I know it's not, we don't talk about it enough, but I'm just telling you, the greatest thing you can do as a believer is be connected with other believers anytime you can. And be honest and real with people. Don't take it on yourself. It's too much. You were created to carry it all. You were created to be part of a body that we all help. We come alongside and we all do that. Moses, when he went up to the mountain, if he didn't have Aaron and Hur with him, Joshua would have lost the battle. Because when Moses would hold the rod up, Joshua was winning. And when his arms got tired and it started to come down, Joshua was losing. If I'm Joshua, I'm like, please, somebody help Moses. We're getting whooped down here. I'd been yelling up, get your hands up. Thank God that he had 2 people there. And Aaron and Hur came alongside and they grabbed Moses' arm on each side. And they said, we got you. They didn't do it for him because Moses had to do it. But they came beside it and they helped him. And in helping him, it helped Joshua. And it helped the army to win. That's why you can't do ministry alone. That's why you can't do life alone. That's why you can't even work. You got to be careful that you don't isolate yourself at work I just got to get my stuff done. There's so many people that can come along with extra giftings and different perspectives that can bring a great help to you. And let them do it. Don't do life alone. The second thing, invite other people into your journey, but be careful who those people are. Because he tells Moses in verse 21, he says, select from all the people capable, honest, people that fear God and hate bribes. In other words, don't just go pick anybody. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. It's time for you to help me. Let's go. That's not it. See how I just around right there, it just flows out of me. But here's the thing, that's not what he did. He said, listen, don't just pick anybody. Find capable people who love Jesus and who aren't going to be distracted and swayed by what people want to take bribes and try to figure out other things and do things dishonest. You find the right people to come alongside of you and they can help you. Listen, you need people in your life that can tell you you're doing something and it's not good. And that there's a better way. Still needs to be done in love. And I'm cautious to say this, but I'm going to say it. So if the shoe fits, wear it. If not, give it to your neighbor. But we don't like correction. I grew up getting whooped. I grew up where my parents taught me, listen, not only are we correct you, but we give anybody in your life permission to correct you. I got beat by my neighbor. Not beat, but spanked. I come home and I'm like, you wait till I tell my dad. I said, Dad, Timmy's dad, he spanked me. He took a switch to my leg. He said, what'd you do? I said, we broke the light bulb down in the basement. He told us not to play with the basketball downstairs, and we did, and we broke a light. He said, well, he should have spanked you. And then, this is what ain't fair. And then he did. Why are you disobeying his dad? You're in his house. I'm like, I already took that punishment, Dad. You ever heard the law of double jeopardy? I paid for this. I already paid that price. I got spanked at school, and then I would get spanked at home for getting spanked at school. Now you just tell somebody, hey, that's not the way to handle it. And people get so upset, so offended. Listen, if you want to be mature, Learn to accept correction. Learn to accept criticism, healthy criticism. And we don't let people do that in our lives as much. But I'm telling you, you will never be healthy if you don't let someone come to you and say, hey, someone who loves you and someone who cares for you, not just anybody, that sees you and say, hey, what you're doing is not good. Let me help you. Who's your Jethro? Who's the person that can do that for you? To tell you, stop doing it by yourself. Stop doing your own thing. Don't invite others in. Be humble. The third thing is when you invite people into your world, because he says in here, he says, select men, capable people that fear God, and then appoint them. In other words, if you have people in your life that you think these are healthy people, these are good people I can trust, then let them. Don't just select them, now let them. Welcome that. Ask them, hey, do you see anything in me? I've shared this before, but I went to the staff, this was a while back, and I do staff evaluations every year, so I have Chris come in my office, and we'll talk about, how he's doing, and strengths, weaknesses, how we all grow together, and I have them do their own evaluation as well, and we all do that, and then I have them evaluate me. And the first time I had my staff, they were sitting at the table, Chris can verify this, sitting at the table, and I said, I want y'all to evaluate me. And they both looked at each other, and they were like, they were very cautious. And I was like, if you don't evaluate me, I'll fire you. I said it. Now, it might be a little harsh, but I was like, you can't help me. I can't grow if I don't know how I need to grow. I need you to tell me. I'm giving you permission to be as honest as you want to be. And tell me, where am I missing it? What are my weak spots? And I grabbed the marker, and they started talking. And I'm like, ease up. Jeez. And the list just, and I'm telling you, it was the healthiest thing I've ever done. Because I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea that there were certain things that I would do that would make them feel a certain way. And until I opened myself up to say, you have permission to tell me what I'm doing wrong, or to tell me where I could grow and what I'm missing. And I printed that document and I left it on my screen of my computer. And I looked at it every day. I said, God, I want to grow. I don't want to be that guy. Now, they weren't mean. Their heart was good. But it revealed something. Because I heard this recently, there's a Sunday morning Scott, and there's a Monday morning Scott. Sunday morning, I'm like, whoa. Monday morning, I'm tired. And we're in staff meeting, and sometimes I can be a little cranky. And I just chug my coffee like, Jesus, Jehovah, Java, oh, like, help me. And you know what? He does. But I have a great team of people. And I can tell you, Chris and I have been together from day one of this church. And he has said some tough things to me, and I to him. And that's why we have such a good relationship. He can say to me, I think that was a little harsh. And I can say to him, well, too bad. No, I'm just kidding. I don't say that. I'm just saying, look, we have that relationship. So I say all that to say this. Whether it's your job, if you own a company, or if you have people that work under you, I'm telling you, you want to do the greatest thing is every now and then you have them speak into your life. You give them permission to tell you where you're missing it, or where you're coming across in a way that they'll never tell you because you're their boss and they don't want to lose their job. But it's helpful for us to receive correction. But it's hard. But growth, you have to be intentional. If you want to grow, you're going to have to let people show you things that maybe you're not seeing. There's a different perspective. Does that make sense? All right, I'm glad you four enjoyed that. So the third thing is like, let them help you. And then here's the last thing. And I didn't see this until last night at 12:30. I'm just up and I'm reading and I'm just praying for today. And I thought, Lord, when we receive people and we let people help us and they encourage us, and I'm going to say this even for what I say to you, don't just take what I say on Sunday and go do it. You need to line it up with Scripture. Because I'm human. I'm flawed. I do my best to speak 100% truth from the Word of God. But I'm human. There could be times where my opinion gets caught in it. Or my story is different than your story and how I process it. But in verse 23 of Exodus 18, if you can, put that up on. It says this, if you follow this advice, and then he says this, and if God commands you to do so, then you'll be able to endure the pressure. And all the people will go home in peace. But he doesn't just say, take my advice. He says, if you take my advice, and if God commands you to. In other words, line it up. Make sure that this is what God is saying to you. Because Jethro, he's not even part of the nation of Israel. He's kind of an outsider anyway. And he's saying, look, this is just what I'm sensing. This is just what I'm feeling. Don't just take this advice and run with it, but take it to God. And if God commands you to do this, if God says this is good, this is right, then do it. And here's what will happen. When you do what God says, you'll be able to endure the pressure. And the people that you're overseeing and ministering to, or the people in your world, they're going to go home at peace. They're going to be refreshed from being around you. Their day's going to change because your day's changing. Because what God does in you is going to affect the people around you. And that's legit. So what I'm not saying is go give all these people this advice. And I'm not saying for you to have those Jethros and do whatever people say. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying is get people in your life that you trust, that you love, that you respect, and say, hey, will you kind of walk with me through this? I need help. Because some of you are wearing yourself out. You're trying to fix your marriage by yourself. You're trying to fix your job by yourself. You're trying to fix your kids by yourself. You're trying to fix your attitude by yourself. You're trying to get rid of shame by yourself. You're trying to forgive by yourself. And I'm telling you, select people, find people. God will show you those people. And say, would you help me? Would you come alongside of me and just help me? It may start with just praying. But then there could be some advice to say, hey, this is what I'm seeing. If you're here today and you were to struggle with forgiveness, here's an example. I would say, you know what? Just start reading in scriptures about God's forgiveness. Because the more you receive it, the easier it is to give it. You need comfort? Receive God's comfort. You'll be able to comfort others. You want to learn how to love? Hang out with a God who is love. Let his love be so real to you it oozes out of you. But I'm telling you, church, listen to me. You can't do it alone. You'll wear yourself out. There are times where you're doing good. I get it. But can I just tell you, if you're doing good, say you're good. But it hurts me when every time people ask, how you doing? How you doing? Everybody's always like, good, 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 good. I'm good, I'm good. And on the inside, You're devastated. On the inside, you're miserable. On the inside, you're crying for help. But you never tell anyone. And you're like, God, I just need help. I need help. And God's like, I got so many people ready. If you'll just let people in. There's a false thing. It's false when you say, now hear what I'm saying. When we have the mentality, all we need is God, that is true. But God uses people. So if you block people out, you're really not saying all I have is God. You're saying, I just want the part of God that'll keep everything a secret. Listen, I've told you this, and I don't mind telling you this. I still see a therapist. Here we go. You know why? Because I'm human. And I got to process things. So when I walk through stuff at church and I walk through stuff in my own life, I'm like, I just want to make sure that I just have someone I can talk to that's not church related. Patty and I can talk about stuff. I can talk to stuff about that. I can talk to my family about stuff. I can talk to some of y'all about stuff. But there's some things I feel just as the weight of a pastor that I don't know who to talk to. Because it's not bad. It's just, I just feel it. And sometimes you just want to, like, is there someone that could just help me? And I don't hide behind it. And I say this carefully, but right now, if you're judging me, I'm telling you, then you're the kind of person that I'm talking to that you need people around you. Because I set someone up that I just decided, this is who I can talk to. This is who I can process with, just in my own struggles. Listen, there's nothing bad going on. I'm not addicted to anything. I'm not, me and Patty aren't crazy, and we ain't got all this crazy stuff going. It's just life hits. And it helps me. It helps me. So you can process that how you want. But it helps me. It helps me. And I want to help you. I want everyone to look me dead in my eyes for just a minute. As your pastor, I'm begging you to get yourself a Jethro if you don't have one. You get yourself somebody that you can talk to that will be a part of your world and that will encourage you and help you. And when they give you advice, take it to the Lord. Make sure, but stop doing it by yourself. Listen, we're a family. If you need something, listen, the last thing, I do my very best to not platform myself. I am a human being. And I'm here for you. You don't bother me if you send me an email or a text saying, hey, could you pray with me? That's what I'm here for. We have a staff of people. We have elders, we have council members, we have people that are here for you. There's no reason for you to be a part of a church and be alone. There's no reason. You're not bugging me. I'm here. I mean it. Chris is here. Shay is here. God called us to this. This isn't a job. This isn't just a career. This is what God called me to. And I need you too. Let's do it together. Why not? Why not go hand in hand? Last story, we'll close. What time is it? I can't see the clock. No, we're good. It's 11:20. You'll be out of here in 3 minutes or so. I remember one time when I was in 7th grade, this guy kept picking on me. I was a skinny little dude. skinny. Stick my tongue out, look like a zipper. That's how skinny. This dude just messes with me. And finally one day I just thought, I can't just sit here. I'm getting punched every day. This isn't the greatest story when it starts, okay? But here, though, it does have a good ending. So one day I was like, if he hits me today, I'm done. Got nothing left. I've turned every cheek I have, and it's time to just say enough's enough. So I did. And I watched enough wrestling and stuff like that. I was like, I'm going. So he did. He hit me, and I retaliated. And I let him know it's not okay anymore. And he got the message. We'll just say that. But then he told another guy, and those two guys, they said, we'll see you after school. And I was like, now I'm in trouble. And I'll never forget, after school when I was heading to the bus, I'll see these two guys. And they look at me, and I'm like, nothing I could do. I got to go to the bus. And as I start walking, they both just move. And I get on the bus. And I was like, I wonder what happened. And when I turn around, there's a guy named Buck. He was in my 7th grade class, but I think he had been in 7th grade for like 6 years. He was a big dude. I think he drove to school. I was like, this dude was huge. And he knew about it. And he followed me. What I didn't know is I wasn't alone. I thought I was. And I thought, man, this is going to be bad. But the only thing that protected me that day and every day after was I had Buck on my side. And I wasn't by myself. Some of you need someone. You need someone going to bat for you. You need someone praying for you. You need someone holding up your arm. They can't do it for you, but they can be there to support you. But here's the real thing. You're the only one that can say yes to that. You're the only one. And if you decide to not do that, then that's on you. But as your pastor, I'm telling you, it'll devastate you if you don't get around community. You don't start letting people come alongside of you in your tough times and encourage you and help you. I hope you hear my heart in it. You need a Jethro. Because it saved Moses and it saved the people. Let's pray.